Welcome to the Marshall Pruett podcast presented by Cooper Tires. We are dipping into late June at Road America for the first ever live Marshall Pruett podcast event held during the Verizon IndyCar Series weekend there. A great little thing we got set up. This was all done and inspired by our friends at Road America, John Ewert and their communications department, a good pal, known him for quite some time. They said, hey, let's try and do a live podcast just as an extension of fun for fans to get a chance to come out and ask whatever questions they want of a variety of IndyCar's top stars and friends of the podcast. So we set this up for late Saturday afternoon and had Tony Kanaan lined up, IndyCar Series champion, Indy 500 winner, Josef Newgarden, our newest IndyCar champion, and also Mike Hull, one of the Marshall Pruett podcast all-stars. He's on here at least once a month. And we were set to do this and have a special guest, crazy DJ Willie P. Will Power, who's going to walk up about halfway through the half-hour podcast and surprise folks and take some questions as well. A little bit of a scheduling challenge, as it turned out. World challenge, in fact. Their final event of the day ran a little bit late since we were set to use Victory Lane and the audio system there for our podcast. We had to let them get through their Victory Lane ceremonies, so funnily enough, what was meant to be a half-hour podcast ended up starting at where it was supposed to end. And so rather than have Will walk up as a nice little surprise for everyone, he was just there from the beginning. So we had 4 folks for the panel. Really, really fortunate, really thankful as well that with the late start, I think we got going at about 6. And we still had probably 75 or 80 people turn up, which was just awesome. And so some great questions came in. And we're also going to be doing this again here shortly. Friday at Mid-Ohio. We're going to have an all-Ohio Marshall Pruett podcast live event with Graham Rahal, Mike Shank, team owner, and also Zach Veach, IndyCar rookie. So that should be a blast. That's going to be in Victory Lane as well. Set to start at 5:30. The same time we tried to get things going at Road America, so we'll see what happens with our friends at Mid-Ohio this Friday. Also, another quick little note. Great thing to know that Road America is investing in some new audio equipment for Victory Lane so that when we go back in a couple weeks for IMSA's stop there, we're going to be doing another live podcast episode. And I mention all that because tried to have multiple microphones going. That didn't quite work. And we ended up having to take the audio that you are about to listen to from the cameras that happen to be recording. So audio isn't exactly as perfect as I would hope, but again, when we head back to Road America, I'm hoping that we'll be able to take a clean line feed off and record that, and everything will be super excellent. Alright, here's one little note from our friends, and we'll be right back. This month, the Marshall Pruett podcast is being supported by the Justice Brothers, whose line of additives, lubricants, and cleaners are America's brand for quality. The products are also used and proven by the world's top racing teams. So if you're interested in joining the sales and distribution team, Justice Brothers offers products for the automotive, semi-truck, agricultural, and industrial markets. To learn more, please check out their website at justicebrothers.com. And you know you can get every episode of the Marshall Pruett podcast by subscribing on iTunes, or Podbean, or Google Play, or Spotify. Plenty of options there for you to hopefully get all the podcast goodies that we are offering on a regular and weekly basis. So with all that said, let's kick off with our pals Tony Kanaan, Josef Newgarden, Will Power, and Mike Hull from the first ever Marshall Pruett podcast live event held at Road America.
20 years ago, you made your first start here at Road America. You look about the same. I'm 5 times as wide. Tell us what this was like 20 years ago, brother.
Man, did you have to bring that up? It felt a lot faster, I have to say. I was watching, somebody told me that on Sunday it will be to the date that I actually came back from my accident to my 255 consecutive starts. So I was watching some of the races, and we used to go around here and do a 139. 139. So we had 1,000 horsepower in the day. The kink was a real corner. And so, yeah, it was a lot different for sure. We had more horsepower. We used to go actually slower through the corners, but still fun. This place is still my favorite place to be. It's an amazing racetrack. So anytime, doesn't matter what type of car you drive. If I can come back here, I'll be back here any day.
Tony just committed to not retiring until he's 7 years old. We appreciate that. All right, so we got a little situation here. Mr. Power thinking he's on pole. Then we've got this bully here, 0.05 of a second, steals it from him. I thought you guys were teammates. I thought you guys liked one another.
Yeah, I didn't think I was on pole. I just did the best lap I could. I beat P6 every session, so I was. I know it was a good lap, but I'd seen what these other guys were doing, so I was happy to be on the front row.
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know Will was even in the equation until I heard how close we were, which was very close. So it was thrilling. I mean, that's great. We were happy, obviously, because we got a 1-2 out of it, so it was perfect.
So you guys probably know this man right here, Mike Hull. If there was an MVP for appearances on my podcast, I might have to rename this the Michael Hull podcast. He keeps us up to date and smart on the strategy side and so many other things. Let's talk about intelligent things, which you help us with. What are we thinking tomorrow on stint length and stops and whatnot?
Marshall, first of all, I'm glad I'm sitting next to these two guys because they're going to rub up on us. That's going to help us a lot tomorrow. Maybe we won't need any strategy at all. But typically this race, I think it's 55 laps here. The fuel mileage is a little better than last year. I would suspect everybody could go 14 or maybe 15 laps before they have to stop. And historically with this race, the last 3 races, there's only been 4 laps of yellow. So that means you actually have to race here. You don't pack up and follow the pace car like we do at some other races. And I think that's fitting for Road America, because Road America has always represented champions like these two guys here, as well as some others that have had the opportunity to win at this racetrack and provide lineage for the future. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun tomorrow.
All right, I've lost count how many championship rings this man has. Just in terms of appreciation, I want you to know that when these folks are asked by the track if they would come out and join you, you're defending IndyCar Series champion, you're 2014 champ, and reigning Indy 500 winner, and another Indy 500 winner here, and your 2004 champ. So, no chumps up here except for me. Let's move to questions. We only have one mic since we got a little feedback, so this is going to be a shout it out. Raise your hand. Fire away. Sir.
So I have a question for Mr. Hull. So as a Bourdais fan, and knowing he's very popular on your podcast, we always talk about how Coyne's the smaller of the teams. What does that mean from a personnel standpoint? Does that mean you have 5 guys doing shock rebuilds and 10 guys back in the shop and they've got 4? What does that mean from a personnel? What's a small, what's a medium, what's a large team?
I think most teams that are here, all teams that are here probably have traveled 15 people per entry, no matter what you might call a small, medium, or large team. The difference really is what you pointed out, how they're supported in the building. Chip Ganassi Racing has an IndyCar team, and it has an IMSA racing team also. So we have a larger staff than just an IndyCar team would have. But there's a lot of crossover there. So you mentioned dampers. I think probably every team here has somebody that creates what the damper's meant to do, and then probably 2 people that actually build the damper, and probably an engineer or 2 that try to understand what the damper just did.
And the driver to tell them they got it wrong.
And the driver that says he or she don't like the dampers. So I think you can probably, by walking up and down just this area here, you can count noses and kind of see, and then watch what part of the car they're working on, or go behind the pit lane and see what the engineer, the depth of engineering actually is. You mentioned Bourdais. That timing stand probably has more engineers on it than most of the rest of us do. So Dale Coyne spends a lot of money these days for motor racing.
All right, we're giving out little sticker packs too for whomever asks a question. Hello. Who has a question for Antoine Kanaan? And it's the man with his raised hand.
Tony, thanks for signing my jersey. You seem to be almost ageless. You know, you're always on top. At Indy, our running joke every year is how many cars will you pass in the first lap? You have not lost any of your aggression. From the outside looking in, you're as young as you were 20 years ago. What does it feel like to be a veteran?
Ooh, what does it feel like to be a veteran?
Yes.
You know, if I started a little further up, I wouldn't have to pass all those cars. I always make myself look a little bit better. But Rossi did a pretty fine job this year. So, you know, it's weird. I don't feel old, but people think a 43-year-old is old nowadays. But we're still going. I don't mind what people think sometimes. To be honest, I'm still enjoying. I'm still enjoying what I do quite a bit. We have a big challenge with the team that we're in right now to build. That was a promise that I made AJ. It was funny because obviously they didn't have a good season last year. And I said, AJ, I promise you we're going to do better this year. He says, son, it's not that hard. You know, so he's very encouraging at times. But yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying it. I have a multi-year deal there, and my commitment with AJ is to make his team more successful. Well, we have our ups and downs, and it was expected, but we're still going hard. I mean, I told him, and I'm not going to drive until I'm 58 like he did, but I'm not retiring. I'm not retiring anytime soon. So,
having written quite a few stories about how unhappy the Hoyt team has been in recent years, I can attest they're smiling a lot more since he and Matthias Lay showed up. All right, who has a question for DJ Willie P. from Toowoomba, Australia? Young man.
Yeah, so it's recently been announced that Phoenix is not going to be returning to the schedule. If you could pick any track in the world to make the race on,
All right, he said, since we're not going back to Phoenix, what track, any track in the world, would DJ Willie P. send us to?
Gold Coast, Surfers Paradise. Epic race. That would be cool to go back to. That would be amazing. They had been kind of working on it, but I don't know. I think there's like a train station in the middle of the second chicane now, so it'll be a shorter track.
Who has one for young Jedi Josef Newgarden? You've had your hand up longest, sir. We'll come back to you next. And he's got a Verizon shirt on and a number.
Newgarden shirt on.
Look at that, sir.
My question was actually for all three. Have you ever won a race here at any level? What's your record at Road America?
What's your record of racing at Road America across all categories? And we're expecting you to remember. That's so awesome.
I think I got it. I've been here. I was here once before I came here in IndyCar, in a Skip Arbor car in 2008, and I remember, you know, those cars they're very slow compared to an IndyCar. You got about 140 horsepower. It's a treaded tire. There's no downforce. They're fun to drive, kind of like a Formula Ford. And I'm pretty sure I won both races. We had two during the weekend, and I think we won both races. We were here with ALMS, if I remember correctly, in 2008. And then when I got to IndyCar, I thought it was such a shame that we weren't running here. I couldn't believe that this wasn't on the IndyCar calendar, and you know, for whatever reason it wasn't. But then we came back finally in 2016, and I think my record is 8th, 2nd, and hopefully win tomorrow. That would be great. But I mean, this, like Tony said, this is one of the best places on the planet. If you're going to choose a racetrack on the planet, it's not just a North American thing. It's one of the best tracks you can come to on the planet. So a couple junior wins, but trying to still get a IndyCar win around here.
I know you've had a lot of head trauma power. Do you remember?
Yeah, I came here in 06 in Champ Car. Didn't do well in that race. Didn't do well in 07. Won in 16.
Yay!
And last year, where did I finish? I think it was top 5. Yeah, so yeah, good fun track. I have to say, the Champ Car around here was a lot of fun, a lot of power, and that last panel was in 07. That was pretty crazy.
So we spoke with Dario Franchitti earlier today. If you see the old man, congratulate him. This event 20 years ago was his first ever IndyCar win. So this weekend at Road America's 20th anniversary for him. This young man finished 4th, but tell us about the rest of your record today.
We're not going to go through the 20 years. Right? So, 98, 99, 2000. No, I had a couple, I think 3 top 5s in a second place to wheel in 16 when I was racing with Mike Ganassi. So I haven't won here in 20 years.
Not even in lights?
We'll try. No, we didn't even race. I didn't race Indy Lights here because we didn't come here. So my first time here was 1998 in an IndyCar right away. So it was definitely an eye-opening when I got here. You know, it was the fastest place I've ever been, for sure, up to that point.
Well, if these guys next to you are nice at all, they'll keep that in mind, that TK needs a win here, dang it. All right, last couple of questions, and we've got to let everybody go. My man right over here.
Thank you. What is the craziest autograph all 4 of you guys signed besides the tire?
My man has a Cooper tire that has signatures on just about every inch he's asked. What's the craziest autograph request everyone has gotten? Mike, I know you get asked to sign body parts constantly. It's usually men, unfortunately, but that's not.
Well, actually, it's not. You know, I'm not like these terrific athletes here. I sign out autographs for the common person. And the common person comes up with normal things for me to sign, so I feel pretty good about that. In a way, I'll turn this over to Joseph because I bet he's got something.
Have you signed a baby yet?
Yeah, I've signed a baby. I've signed a baby with permission. With permission. I think it was 1 or 2 years old.
Permission's involved.
Well, believe me, you have kids that come up and they're like, sign my face, and you're like, where are your parents? Because I can't do that. It's not legal. I think the weirdest thing I've ever signed is a tenderloin sandwich, which was, I don't even understand the logistics of that. Like how, you know, you got bread, then you have the breaded tenderloin, the more bread. They didn't. I don't know if they were going to freeze it. I don't know what they were going to do with the sandwich. It was at Indianapolis where, you know, tenderloin sandwiches are a big deal.
Was it Miller's?
Yeah,
It wasn't Miller's. I don't. So, that was the weird. I think the coolest things I've ever signed is a Penske Racing contract, though. That's probably the coolest thing.
I was just about to say that the worst thing I ever signed was a contract from a manager. I don't even have a manager, I was just joking. I think a baby's head probably is the weirdest thing. The guy wanted me to sign, I was like, I don't really want to do that. I mean, the skin is so new, like you put that pen on it, it's probably going to, you know, cause some sort of rash. So I'm not doing it, mate. But he asked me to do it. So yeah, that was it.
I'm legitimately scared.
Yeah, I was looking at the crowd, and I'm going to go with my second option because there are a lot of kids in here. So, you know, I've been around way too long. But no, the weirdest thing was the guy I didn't even think was weird at the time. He asked me to sign his back, which, I'm like, whatever, man. He was an older guy, I said, sure. He came back 2 hours later and he actually had tattooed my signature in his back. So I'm like, man, I have a lot of tattoos and I don't have one of them. I don't like myself that much, but I really appreciate it. So I would call that one. Let's leave that alone.
Now, if you were to show up with a tattoo of that guy's face on your back, that would be excellent. All right, one more question for our group, then we got to let them go and have a nice evening. Sir in the whole Matrish hat.
Guy over in Europe's getting a lot of attention about a triple crown.
Spanish guy?
Yeah,
Fred?
Spanish guy.
Alonso?
What's your triple crown? And we know a couple of you got one of those jewels already.
My triple crown is the 500. What was the other one? I'm sorry, but Bathurst is the other one. Bathurst, what's the other? Oh yeah, Le Mans. Sorry. Yeah, 500 Le Mans and Bathurst would be a great triple crown. Like if I got that, like as in Australia, Bathurst is like winning the 500. So that would be cool.
Or the 1,000?
The 1,000, absolutely. Yeah, 12 hour. Yeah. 1,000. Bathurst 1,000. So yeah, Roger's got a team that wins, so I have a chance.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever thought about the current Triple Crown that people, mention, Monaco, Le Mans, and in the Indy 500. I've just always, I'm so lucky that I get to drive an IndyCar, honestly. Like, I never thought I'd become a professional race car driver, so just to, be in this series is cool enough. But I will tell you, racers are very greedy. We're all greedy. I think we would race anything you'd allow us to. So I'd love to try
golf carts.
Golf carts, sure. Why not? Tony and me and Will can go race golf carts right now and compete, make it our own Triple Crown. But I would jump in anything. I'd like to try stock cars, honestly, because I think they'd be a challenge. Okay, wrong crowd. Wrong crowd. I'm being honest with you guys, all right? I think it'd be such a challenge, though, because they're so different than what we've learned or become accustomed to as drivers growing up in the open wheel world. So that'd be a fun challenge to go try. But sports cars, 100%. If I could ever run, Daytona, Sebring, the whole deal, going over to Le Mans would be amazing. Formula One, why not? I mean, if you could run anything. So I don't have a specific one myself, but whatever you get an opportunity in, it'd be cool to take up.
Formula E?
For me, I'm definitely not going over Formula One. So I would say we did it 24 hours together. We won in Daytona, the 500. And Mike keeps giving me the opportunity to go back to Le Mans, so I'm actually went away like Alonso, in my opinion. So if we do that next year, it would be awesome.
And I'm not trying to be too American and too protectionist here. I'd love to see Fernando come and play full time, and I'd also like to him to come over and see the holy hell our drivers visit upon him. It will not be easy. All right, one question, two more questions. Young lady.
If you had the chance, if Milwaukee was brought back and Elkhart was still here, would you like that competition? Would you enjoy that?
If Milwaukee was brought back and we still had Elkhart, would folks like that proposition? Milwaukee, TK?
Man, I had so many wins there in top threes. Yes. Yes. I mean, I still think it was a shame. Michael Andretti tried so hard, and I know some politics got involved, but that's such a great racetrack. It's a great little oval, and it's the oldest oval, right, Mike, that we have? I mean, the oldest track. So, I mean, it's a shame that we don't have it. I wouldn't, no offense to Milwaukee, I wouldn't trade to here. I think we can fit both, but yes, I would love to see it back for sure.
One more question, then I'm actually going to ask Tony to close on a little favorite story of mine that he tells, which I haven't even asked him about yet. Young man.
So I'm doing karting right now and stuff.
Come on up. We need to get some karting tips here for our man.
So I'm doing karting right now, and I want to know what would be a good path to get up to a series like IndyCar or the World Challenge.
Well, because the whole goal is to get hired, by a team at some point. It's very tough. I'll be honest with you, it is tough, but you got to keep believing in yourself and what you're putting together, because there'll be, with me, there was moments where I thought my racing career was over and I was done. And so you have to have a lot of tenacity in this sport. You got to really be willing to always put it on the line and keep pushing to find a way to make it happen. Now, that's regardless of what path you take. I don't think there's really a right path or a wrong path in racing nowadays. With IndyCar, you have the Mazda Road to Indy, which you probably know of. How do you transition from karts to a USF 2000? That's a little trickier. I don't know if I could give you the best advice there. They've got F4 coming now. They got all sorts of things, but it's all about what I will tell you, the biggest piece of advice is this sport is about people. You're going to meet a lot of different people, talk to a lot of different people about, where you can go as a junior driver, where you can find the funding, the opportunity to keep going. And the people that you meet are going to help you succeed one day. The people I met helped me succeed and get here. So take care of the people that you meet and make that a priority, because that's what helps you get here is the people that you surround yourself with and interact with.
Young champ, love that. All right, we're going to close on a story that might apply to our man here, and I would say might apply to any young racer or anyone else who is facing adversity. Tony, could you tell us a story from early in your junior open wheel career in Europe where a certain person from your native land, a hero, stepped in and vouched for you at a critical time in your career? It's definitely about supporting those who have talent.
Sure, and that actually probably applies to the kid that just asked you the question. I was 1993. I was racing in Europe for a small team in Italy. I lived in the race shop, slept on a little mattress on the floor there, and that's how I went racing. And we only had money to do 4 races, and my last race was in Germany, and we used to race like Indy Lights race before IndyCars. And Senna was in Formula 1 already, and we knew each other from Brazil. He knew where I was, and I went to see him at his motorhome before the race, and I was actually starting on the pole that race, and he asked me, how was it going? I said, that's cool, we're starting on the pole, but this is my last race because the team doesn't have any money. I don't have any money to pay for the rest of the season. He's like, really? Wow, that's tough. And anyway, the conversation ended like that. I went back to my truck. 45 minutes later, somebody knocked on the door in the engineering room, and we opened the door, and there was Senna asking to see my boss. And my boss was sitting right there with me, and he says, hi, I'm Ayrton Senna, like he needed an introduction. The guy was like, I know. And he said, do you know this guy? He says, oh, of course I know him. This is my driver. He says, yes, he is better than me. You should sign him up because he is a lot better than me, and one day he will be a champion. And I got the job. I got to race the rest of the year. Unfortunately, he died the following year, but that's when my career took off. So it's about the people that you meet. So on that, I think Josef you can call Josef, he can help you.
Tony, Will, Joseph, Mike, John from Road America, all of you, thank you so much for turning out. This is awesome. Also, we have some sticker packs if you'd like any. John will happily hand them out, as many as we have.
Now some good fun. I mean, from signing babies to signing sandwiches to Kanaan's great story to close the first ever podcast. Really, really thankful for them to make time towards the end of the day. And without sounding too unnecessarily flowery here, just pretty cool to think that here's some of IndyCar's biggest stars who could be off at dinner, doing something just to relax and chill and whatnot. Start at, 6 o'clock start, late start as it was. They all hung around. They all actually stayed much longer than expected. And it was all because they had a chance just to sit down and have some fun with you and get even closer to IndyCar's awesome fans. So I think that's part of why I think doing more of these, and the little secret here is this: it's a podcast, and I'm saying that with air quotes. It's a podcast. This is just Q&A, if nothing else. This is for me just a really cool chance to say, hey, if you're a fan of the sport, and these are some of the folks, whomever they are, that happen to be the guests as we do more of these live podcast events, come on out, say hello, ask them a question, and for this one coming up at Mid-Ohio, and then the following weekend at Road America again, we're also going to try and, I guess you could say, give back, give away something. Me and Derek Koska, my friend who runs Toronto Motorsports, we've got some new Marshall Pruett podcast t-shirts coming, both Weekend Sports Car cartoon, and also Weekend Sports Cars cartoon t-shirts, and some other goodies. So, we're not trying to buy favor, we're just realizing that, hey, cool little thing here with folks trying to come out and support what we are doing. So if we can do that in return and give you some goodies to take home, seems like a fair arrangement to me. All right, thanks again to our friends at justicebrothers.com for their support this month of July, and thank you as well to Cooper Tires for their year-long support of the Marshall Pruett podcast. So, as always, I'm Marshall Pruett. Thanks again for listening.